The New York Islanders overcome some foolish penalties and get just enough offense to beat the Ottawa Senators 4-2. We have our key takeaways from the game, and we'll tell you who's playing well and who's not. All of that and a whole lot more coming up on this episode of the Locked On Islanders podcast.
Your Locked On Islanders, your daily podcast on the New York Islanders. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
And welcome, everybody, to the Tuesday edition of the Locked On Islanders podcast. Gil Martin, so glad you could join us today and be part of the Locked On Islanders family. And thank you for making Locked On Islanders your first listen every day. We are free and available on all platforms. Lots to discuss on today's show, especially talking about the Islanders' 4-2 win over the Ottawa Senators. But first, if there's something Islanders related on your mind, if you have a question you'd like to ask, a comment about something we discussed, or maybe a topic you'd like us to talk about on a future show, feel free to send us an email. The email address, lockedonislanders@gmail.com. And if you leave your first name and where you're from, we are happy to mention you on the show when we discuss whatever it is that's on your mind. You could also follow the show on Twitter at Locked On Isles. And you could follow me, Gil Martin, on Twitter at Ice Wars, NYR_VSNYI. We'll keep you up to date on all the latest Islanders news, notes, and happenings. And I am live tweeting during nearly every Islanders home and road game. So join me for some instant insight and analysis. And it's always great to interact with Islanders fans, game time and anytime. So the Islanders with a 4-2 win over the Senators. And I'll tell you, I was concerned coming into this game because the Islanders have been struggling in first periods all year long. And historically, the Islanders have had their difficulties in matinee games. And this game wasn't exactly a matinee, but it wasn't exactly a regular starting time, 5:30 Eastern time start, mostly because the Senators wanted their fans to be able to watch the Daniel Alfredsson Hockey Hall of Fame induction ceremony and, have which pretty much started at 8 o'clock Eastern time last night, more or less when this game ended. And I'll say this, the Islanders got some strong performances, but this was not a great game by the New York Islanders. Their goaltending was superb. Semyon Varlamov, 36 saves. But again, the Islanders allowed 38 shots to the Senators. And if you look at the shot chart, so many quality chances from in close that Varlamov really had to be on top of his game in order to pull off the win. And quite honestly, he was. And that was an extremely encouraging thing because, the Islanders, they often do give up quality shots on a number of shots on goal, but usually not high danger area shots. They may give up 38 shots, but 6 or 7 of them are really dangerous scoring opportunities. Whereas in this game, almost half of those 38 shots were quality chances, and Varley had to be fantastic, and he was. The Islanders also, much to my surprise, got the first goal of the game. And, like I said, I was concerned about the time. I was concerned about the, when the game started, and yet the Islanders get a power play goal from Oliver Wahlstrom, who ends up putting the puck in the net. Good to see. And, it was a wicked shot. And that's the thing about Wally. Wahlstrom has such a good shot, but it's the other aspects of his game that always concern you. He got this goal early, got the Islanders on the board, and that was huge, and it was a power play goal, and you just have to be like very happy about that. But the Islanders got into some penalty trouble, and this was sort of a reoccurring theme in this game. Josh Bailey sat this one out. He was a scratch again. Possible message, possible trade, we don't know, but Bales sits out. Ross Johnston replaces him. Johnston takes a roughing penalty, went after Shane Pinto. Okay, went after maybe a little strong, but Johnston and Pinto are talking in front of the bench. Johnston gave him a little cross check or a little hit, trying to sort of goad Pinto into taking either a roughing or a fighting penalty to match him. Pinto was smart, skated away. Johnston got the call. It was a little bit of a questionable call, but it ends up hurting the Islanders. And then a little bit later, while they're trying to kill off the Ross the Boss penalty, Scott Mayfield gets a 4-minute high-sticking penalty, double minor, when his stick hits Brady Tkachuk, and the Isles are down to a lengthy 5-on-3. Ottawa converts on the 5-on-3 on a goal by Drake Batherson, and voila, we're all tied at 1-1. And then later on in the game, in the third period, with the game only 2-1, Kyle Palmieri takes a tripping call in the offensive zone. And, that one really hurt because the Islanders, first of all, Palmieri had a great scoring chance himself on that play. And then after that, takes a penalty for tripping in the offensive zone with the puck behind the Ottawa goal. You can't do that. You're trying to protect a 1-goal lead early in the third period on the road. And it really set up another critical penalty kill for the Islanders. Thankfully, that was the last penalty they took in the game. And after they do kill it off, they get a power play opportunity, and J.G. Pageau scores, and the Islanders go up 3-1. Overall, the problems with the Islanders, we talked about them giving up too many quality scoring chances, and that was definitely an issue in this game. And the other thing was that the Senators' top line really had a little too much time and space. So Brady Tkachuk, Claude Giroux, those guys had a lot of time and space. And Giroux had a goal and an assist, and his goal was very pretty. But overall, this team needs to just sort of play more of their defensive game in order to have a better chance at winning these hockey games. And look, Ottawa is a team that came into this with problems. They are thin defensively because of injuries. They've been struggling as a team defensively, and yet the Islanders didn't take full advantage of the Senators' defensive issues, and good teams will do that. Now, again, good teams win hockey games when they're not playing their best, but you got to play your best a little more often, for lack of a better way to put it, than what the Islanders have been doing. And hopefully that is something that this Islander team starts to do and do right away. Now, a lot of good from this game, and we'll talk about some of the highlights and the players that really did step up their game and allow the Islanders to win it. So we've got that, plus our Islanders birthday of the day, and a whole lot more still to come on this episode of the Locked On Islanders podcast. Today's episode is brought to you by your friends at BetOnline. BetOnline.net is your number one source for sports betting info, stats, news, and analysis. Get the latest odds and trends for every professional and amateur league out there, from football to basketball to soccer and esports. We've got it all at betonline.net. And if you love sports podcasts, you could find those at BetOnline as well. We're always the fastest and easiest way to get your betting fix. Well, the Islanders are red hot. They're about to embark on a 4-game road trip. Do you think they'll continue winning? Check out the odds at BetOnline. Head to the website today or use your mobile device to learn more. BetOnline, where the game starts. So the Islanders played a solid game overall. There were some problems, and we talked a little bit about them. But let's talk a little bit more about the good stuff. We talked about Varlamov and how well he played. And it's not easy to play well when you're playing roughly every third game. J.G. Pageau with a solid game, scored a goal. Always good to see Pageau do well when he returns to Ottawa, his former team, and had a solid game. Casey Cizikas, strong in the faceoff circle, winning 12 out of 18 draws. But how about Mathew Barzal? Barzy, 2 more assists in this game, 3 takeaways, a block shot, and a couple of shots on goal. Still waiting for that first goal. It was not a dominant Barzal performance where he's skating circles around other players, but 2 helpers. He just continues to contribute to the offensive success of this hockey team, and that is what you want your best and most dynamic offensive player to do. We talked about Brock Nelson now also getting a goal, and okay, Nelson's goal was the empty netter that clinched it, but he's got 9 goals now on the season, and also 5 shots on goal, leading the team. So Nelson continues to play well, continues to provide offense. Anders Lee with an assist. He continues to provide offense. But how about this guy, Noah Dobson? Dobby really coming up with a strong game, a goal and an assist, a +1, 4 shots on goal, second only to Brock Nelson. And he really is sort of the engine that makes this Islander team click right now, especially offensively. Defensively, he's not playing badly, but offensively, he was solid. One other player who was involved offensively, but again, defensively, not always there, Sebastian Aho. And he tied Brock Nelson with 5 shots on goal, but he was a -1. And Aho, again, 2 hits, a block shot, solid game offensively. He was helping out offensively, but defensively, he still has his moments. And it really has more to do, I think, with his size or lack thereof than anything else. It's not that Aho is not a smart hockey player. He just, at times, has difficulty positionally maintaining, putting himself between the opposing player and the goal when the opposing forward is much bigger than he is. So that is a little bit of a concern for Sebastian Aho, but offensively solid. Problem lately, and I hate to even bring this up because I really like both of these guys, but Adam Pelech and Ryan Pulock, they're still darn good hockey players, don't get me wrong, but they have not been playing their A game over the last week or so. Not that they've been terrible, they haven't been, but they have just had too many defensive breakdowns where they're a little bit out of position or they're turning the puck over the course of the game, especially when they're trying to leave their own zone. This kind of breakdown is just dangerous for the Islanders because these are your 2 best defensemen. These are the 2 players you're counting on probably more than anybody to make sure that they are stopping the opposing team's best players. And, we talked earlier today about how much time and space the top line, especially for the Senators, had in this game. And it's the job of your top defense pair, more often than not, Pelech and Pulock, to just be the guys who prevent the opposition's best players, your Claude Giroux, your Alex DeBrincats. It's the job of your top defensive pair to shut down the most dangerous players on the other team. And right now, I'm not saying they're bad, but they're just not playing their best hockey. And I wouldn't say they're like hurting the team in a big way, but they're not playing their A game. They're sort of a B- right now. And hopefully it doesn't stay that way for too much longer. And Pelech and Pulock sort of get their A game back and find a way to start to be the shutdown top pair defense that this team relies on so very much. So overall, a good win is there such thing as a bad win in the NHL? Probably not. And for the Islanders, here's the good news. 11-6, 22 points through 17 games. 2 points behind New Jersey in the race for first place right now in the Metropolitan Division. Now, the Devils have 2 games in hand. The Devils are 12-3 right now. Not sure they'll be able to keep playing at that high a level, but the Islanders picking up points early. And look, we talked about the games they had against the Coyotes, the Blue Jackets, and the Senators as being 3 teams who are really struggling right now. And they got 4 out of the 6 points. I would have liked at least 5, but I'll take 4 out of the 6 points. And the Islanders just now head on a 4-game road trip. They're going to be in Nashville, Dallas, and Toronto for the last 3 games of this road trip after facing Ottawa in Ottawa last night. Get me another 4 points in the last 6 games of this road trip, and I think I'll be very, very happy. So the Islanders pick up the 2 points, play a solid overall game, and if they just didn't take those foolish penalties and tighten things up a little bit in the neutral zone and the defensive zone, I think they'd have an even better performance. But Varley's strong play encouraging, Barzal encouraging, Dobson encouraging, and overall the Islanders just finding ways to win hockey games, and that's what you need to do. We have got more to get to on today's Locked On Islanders podcast. We have our Islanders birthday of the day, a defenseman from the late 90s who didn't play long with the Islanders, but certainly did contribute when he did. We've got that and some final thoughts about last night's game and a lot more still to come on this episode of the Locked On Islanders podcast. Today's episode is brought to you by SimpliSafe. If you've thought about securing your home with home security, but you've been putting it off, you'll want to listen up. Right now, Locked On Islanders listeners can order the #1 rated SimpliSafe home security system for 50% off. This is their biggest offer of the year, and you won't want to miss it. Here's why I love it. In an emergency, you've got 24/7 professional monitoring agents using Fast Protect technology, which is exclusively from SimpliSafe, and it captures critical evidence and verifies that a threat is real so you can get priority police response. SimpliSafe is whole home security with advanced sensors for every room, window, and door, HD security cameras for inside and out, smarter ways to detect motion that alert you only when a threat is real, and even hazard sensors that detect fires, floods, and other threats to your home. Don't miss your chance to save big on the only security system I recommend. Get 50% off any new SimpliSafe system at simplisafe.com/LockedOnNHL. This is their biggest discount of the year, so don't wait. That's simplisafe.com/LockedOnNHL. There's no safe like SimpliSafe. Time now for our Islanders birthday of the day. And yesterday, Monday, was the 46th birthday of former Islanders defenseman Ray Schultz, the native of Edmonton, Alberta, drafted by the Ottawa Senators in the 8th round back in 1995. Always more of a defensive defenseman. Even in juniors, Schultz, a tough guy, had more than 200 penalty minutes in just 63 games back in 94-95, playing in the Western Hockey League, and never had more than 20 points in one season in junior until his last and third and final year when he had 34 points in 55 games. Made his NHL debut with the Islanders in 1997-98, playing in 13 games and picking up an assist. Played mostly in the minors, but had cups of coffee with the Islanders in 1998-99, 1999-2000, 2000-2001, 2001-2002, and 2002-2003. But all of those cups of coffee only totaled 45 career NHL games. He hung around in the AHL through the 2005-2006 season before hanging up his skates. Did not score a goal in his NHL career. 45 games, 4 assists, and 155 penalty minutes. Did play in 2 playoff games with the Isles back in 2002. Did not pick up a point, had a pair of penalty minutes. We go back and remember one of the better games by Ray Schultz with the Islanders. December 29th, 2000 at the Nassau Coliseum. The Islanders hosting the Atlanta Thrashers in this one. And in goal for Atlanta, Milan Hinlitka, while the Islanders went with Wade Flaherty. And it was the Islanders getting on the board first. Gary Galley, his 4th from Dave Scatchard and Mark Lawrence, just a minute 31 into the game. Islanders up early, 1-0. Islanders extended their lead at the 7:10 mark of the first. Mariusz Jerkovsky, his 11th of the year from our Islanders' birthday of the day, Ray Schultz. That made it 2-0 Isles. Then Mark Parrish goes to work, his 10th from Oleg Kavasha at 10:57. And then with the Islanders on a power play, Donald Audette of the Thrashers off for boarding. Parrish gets a power play tally, his 11th from Tim Connolly and Mariusz Jerkovsky at 12:35. Islanders with a big 4-0 lead after the first period. In the second, the Islanders power play gets going again, and Jerkovsky, his 12th from Gary Galley and Mark Parrish at 8:44, 5-0 Isles, but they couldn't hold that lead entirely. Sergei Vashedkovich, his first from Per Svardevet at 18:28 of the second period, made it 5-1. And then in the third period, with Taylor Pyatt off for high sticking, Donald Audette, a power play goal, his 19th from Steve Stais and Andrew Burnett at 14:29. That was all she wrote, though. Islanders win it by a score of 5-2. For our Islanders' birthday of the day, Ray Schultz, he was on the ice for 16 minutes and 10 seconds. He had 2 penalty minutes. He had the assist and was a +1 in this game being one of his 4 career points in the NHL. So we're a day late, but happy 46th birthday to Ray Schultz, a player who never firmly established himself in the NHL, but still played 45 games in the best hockey league in the world, and he is our Islanders' birthday of the day. This road trip coming up is going to be very important for the Islanders. The last 3 games of this trip, you got off to a good start. You beat Ottawa. Nashville coming up next on Thursday. And you know, road trips are never easy in the National Hockey League. It's hard enough to win any game, really. And the Islanders are going to need to play well. It's one of those situations where you win this game. You get, let's say, 6 out of a possible 8 points on this road trip. And you really sort of establish the fact that this year, this Islanders team is going to be a contender. And, you know, they're going to be in the conversation for one of the 3 guaranteed playoff spots in the East Metropolitan Division? Or do they sort of start to fall back and maybe they're only battling for a wild card? You don't want to start losing while you have this road trip. Nashville kind of struggling a little bit early this year, but Dallas and Toronto both playing well. This is a character test, and it'll be interesting to see how the Islanders handle it. And Lane Lambert, will he put Josh Bailey back into the game on Thursday, or does he stick with Ross Johnston, or does he actually go back to Nikita Soshnikov on Thursday? These are things that we'll discuss a little bit more on tomorrow's show, but we'll see how Lane Lambert handles it. Thank you for making Locked On Islanders your first listen. For your next listen, check out the Locked On Sports Today podcast. The biggest stories of the day, plus instant reactions, big game recaps, and the take of the day. It's available on the Odyssey app, YouTube, and wherever you get podcasts. Tomorrow, we will be back. We'll have our weekly farm report and all the latest Islanders news, notes, and happenings for you. Thanks again for listening and watching the Locked On Islanders podcast. Have a great day, everybody. Enjoy the win. Stay safe. And of course, let's go Islanders.